When we talk about 70s, 80s, and 90s movies, we have to mention the name Steven Spielberg. It will come across lots of time. This is your favorite movie channel, Retro Movie Palace, and my name is Gert. Gremlins. Gremlins we're talking about. Steven Spielberg directed. 10 facts you may or may not know about the movie Gremlins.
Ever wondered about the hidden stories behind the making of Gremlins? Tim Burton nearly directed it, but Spielberg chose a more experienced filmmaker. Breaking Bad's Mike Ehrmantraut made an early appearance as Deputy Brent. Spielberg's influence shaped the movie, turning Gizmo into the hero and helping create the PG-13 rating. The film's dark origins included scenes that were too gruesome for the final cut, and even a morbid Christmas story from Phoebe Cates' character almost got axed. Plus, real-life inspirations like a CNN apocalypse video made it into Gremlins 2. Stay with us for these fun facts that will make you want to rewatch this 80s classic. Number 1. Tim Burton and the missed opportunity to direct Gremlins. After the success of his short film Vincent, Tim Burton, known for his gothic style, was considered as a director for Gremlins. Given his fondness for creepy Christmas themes and quirky creatures, he seemed like a perfect fit for Chris Columbus's story. However, despite producer Steven Spielberg's appreciation for Vincent, he decided to hire a director with experience in directing full-length feature films. Therefore, Burton missed the opportunity to direct Gremlins, as Spielberg wanted someone with more experience in feature-length filmmaking. Number 2. Breaking Bad's Mike Ehrmantraut also appeared in Gremlins. Aside from Winston in Pulp Fiction, one of the coolest fixers in TV and film is Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad. Jonathan Banks played Mike with a quiet swagger that made him one of the standout supporting characters on the show. Interestingly, Banks's extensive career includes an appearance in the original Gremlins movie, where he played Deputy Brent, and he even had hair back then. It's fascinating to see how versatile Banks has been throughout his career, going from a role in a fun, fantastical movie like Gremlins to portraying the calm and composed problem solver Mike in Breaking Bad. His ability to bring depth and nuance to such different characters showcases his talent and range as an actor, making his career all the more impressive. Number 3. Steven Spielberg's impact on 80s cinema. Steven Spielberg's influence on 80s cinema went beyond just directing. He also played a significant role as a producer. While he didn't helm classics like Gremlins or Back to the Future, his mark is still felt in these iconic films. Both movies are set in unique towns that have become ingrained in pop culture, Kingston Falls and Hill Valley, respectively. It's fascinating to note that despite Spielberg not being behind the camera for these films, his fingerprints are all over them. In Gremlins, for instance, there's a clever nod to Spielberg's works within the movie theater scenes. It's this attention to detail and commitment to crafting rich cinematic universes that have made Spielberg's contributions to 80s cinema enduring and beloved by audiences of all ages. Number 4. Gizmo wasn't always the hero in Gremlins. Originally, the script for Gremlins didn't have Gizmo as the adorable hero everyone loves today. In the early story drafts, Gizmo and Stripe, the main Gremlin villain, were actually the same character. It wasn't until Steven Spielberg stepped in as a producer and suggested to director Joe Dante that the cute little Mogwai should be the hero of the story that things changed. Spielberg's suggestion turned Gizmo into the beloved furry protagonist we know, instead of having him transform into the villainous Stripe. This change might seem obvious now, but at the time, it was a major shift that helped shape the movie into the classic it became. Number 5. The evolution of movie ratings. Let's rewind to the early 80s when the movie rating system was a bit simpler. You had your G for the little tykes, PG for those who could handle a tad more excitement, and R for the grown-ups, the stuff you wouldn't want the kids catching a glimpse of. But then came along movies like Indiana Jones and Gremlins, films that weren't exactly tailored for the youngest viewers, but also didn't quite fit the R-rated bill. Gremlins, for instance, managed to snag a PG rating, but it wasn't without some serious arm-twisting from Spielberg and Dante, who had to plead their case to the ratings board. This new rating was like a sweet spot, giving filmmakers the freedom to explore themes and scenes that might be too intense for a PG rating, but not quite pushing into R-rated territory. And lo and behold, Shortly after Spielberg's proposal, PG-13 was born, with movies like Red Dawn being among the first to sport this fresh label proudly. Number 6. The rules of Mogwai care. Let's break it down for Billy's adorable new pet Gizmo. First off, keep him dry. Like, don't even let a drop touch him. It's not just about avoiding baths. Even a splash could spell trouble. Then there's the feeding schedule. No snacks after midnight. Now, here's the tricky part. Which midnight are we talking about? Turns out, it's the one in the Mogwai's time zone. So if you're on the West Coast and you feed Gizmo at 9:30 p.m., thinking you're safe because it's not midnight yet, wrong. It's already past midnight on the East Coast, where Gizmo's internal clock ticks. And breaking these rules? Well, it's not pretty and can cause nasty results. Number 7. Kate's dark story. All right, let's talk about that scene in Gremlins that had everyone buzzing. So, there's this moment where Phoebe Cates, playing Kate, drops this bombshell of a story about her dad, Santa, and a chimney. It's pretty heavy stuff for a movie that's supposed to be fun for the whole family, right? Spielberg, the big cheese behind the scenes, kept pushing to cut it, thinking it was just too much for the kiddos. But Dante, the director, wouldn't budge. He was all about Kate's deadpan delivery, convinced it added a layer of dark humor that made the chaos of the film even more deliciously twisted. Now here's the thing. Was Kate's delivering an old morbid joke, or was she dead serious? That's the million-dollar question, and it's part of what made that scene so memorable and, well, a bit unsettling too. Number 8. The actor who aged like fine wine. Key Luke, who plays Mr. Wing, had a career to rival Miller's. He began acting in the 1930s and was one of the first Chinese-American actors signed to a studio contract. Luke appeared in dozens of films and TV shows, and the 80-year-old actor was still at it when he made Gremlins. However, he was still youthful enough that they had to add old-age makeup to his face. Number 9. Creative challenges in bringing the Gremlins to life. Back when CGI was still very new, the team behind Gremlins had to come up with a clever way to bring the creatures to life. Initially, they thought they could save money by using trained monkeys instead of expensive puppets. Despite the common belief in the entertainment industry that working with children and animals is the hardest, director Joe Dante tried putting a Mogwai mask on a rhesus macaque. However, the monkey ended up causing chaos in Dante's editing room. This mishap led the team to conclude that using puppets would be the best approach for bringing the Gremlins from the script to the screen. Number 10. The darker side of Gremlins. So here's the scoop on how the whole Gremlins thing went down. Chris Columbus, the guy behind the script, got his inspiration from a rather unexpected source: a mouse scuttling around his New York apartment when darkness fell. But here's where it gets interesting. Originally, some of the scenes he cooked up were pretty intense, way beyond what you'd expect from a PG or even PG-13 flick. We're talking creepy monsters chowing down on the family dog and a bunch of other horrible stuff. It was all a bit too much for Dante and Spielberg, who were on board with the project, but wanted to dial back the gore factor. So, Columbus had to go back to the drawing board, toning down the darker and bloodier bits to make Gremlins a tad more palatable for a wider audience. So that's all for today's video. If you like it, click the like and bell buttons. We'll have another video for you soon. Take care until then.